So, do this as a preface video. There's a walk and talk after this one again, and so I'll just do a little preface video. I don't remember exactly what I say in the walk and talk. Wasn't terribly important, but wasn't terribly unimportant either. So Hafiday's made these two videos. You can't make longer videos anymore, so I had to 15-minute them. But anyway, it's just this contextualization, I guess, of our disagreement, and I just find it a little bit obnoxious in the sense that he thinks this is all some sort of academic thing. There's nothing at stake, from his perspective, and that's from his perspective, and he's just not getting it. From my perspective, the Holocaust you are endorsing are on scales. I mean, I don't want to insult the Holocaust, the real one, the Nazi Holocaust, but frankly, what happens in nature every day, okay, is magnitudes worse. And so this isn't a minor problem between us. Okay, you're endorsing and validating what I consider to be crimes against consciousness on a scale and a magnitude that is, like I said, almost makes the Holocaust look like a cupcake. Okay, by comparison, this nail in the eye, and you're saying I should somehow have an agreeable interchange with your kind, your nihilist type. Because we would agree on many social conventions, and again, that's not the subject. The fact that we would agree on social conventions that are constructive to human interaction in the short term, I mean, in the small scale, to avoid chaos, the dysfunction of chaos, the inevitable dysfunction, is very different. Then again, this statement of recognizing a more fundamental value and recognizing that with every day of our continued existence, there is more of this Holocaust taking place every hour, every minute that passes. I could argue that we could just, you were a patient at one time of the mental health facilities. If I just added up all the mentally ill of the human race per year, and we just added up those millions of people, just said, well, how many in a decade, how many in 2 decades, how many in 3 decades? This is an ongoing Holocaust. The suffering is on a scale, again, as big as Hiroshima or Auschwitz. So there's no point in saying to me, oh yeah, I should have a civil conversation, about people who will glibly, in a sense, almost mock that scale of wasted, in my opinion, purely wasted suffering, and certainly wasted on these conventional desires. So that's another thing you brought up, as if there was some inability to tell the difference between projected value and a conversation about actual value. And I just think it's a denial of this whole conversation. I've made every effort to explain the difference between philosophy and psychology, and the fact that certainly your projected needs, things that are manifestations of your psychology, are going to decide how satisfiable you are, how comfortable you are, and that will be one component of your comfort. But again, the other argument is that you still have to do that in the world, and you still have to acquire your gratification, your satisfaction in the world with all these things, these other sentients you're going to interact with. And that's where the value equation changes. And it's no longer about what you want, it's about what you can afford to have, so to speak, what the world can afford to pay for your gratification. And I'm saying that none of these prices have been paid. So he doesn't get to the consent argument because I don't think you can touch it. I don't think you can go anywhere near it without getting exploded, because it's just there's no way to justify the aggression, the arrogant aggression of incompetent humans who can't even figure out what universe they exist in. You know, they have no business doing anything aggressive in a world where they admit they don't know what the fuck they're doing, or what it's made out of. Yeah, first do no harm. That ethic starts to ring truer and truer. So anyway, so that's the reason. I mean, my animosity, my despise, my hatred, I think is perfectly rational under the circumstances. You're, you know, I mean, again, I can't, you know, in realistic terms, in just very pragmatic, practical terms. If I am correct about this value equation, you are a greater disaster. Your kind is worse than the complicit Nazi. It's worse than the complicit Indian killer. It's worse than the complicit slave owners. You know, sorry, but that's just what it is. And why would I sup with them? You know, why would I commit the crime of glibbery and you know, pragmatically or really for no real good reason pretend to think there's nothing wrong with this picture. Something radically wrong with this picture, and frankly, like I said, I can identify the problem, and the problem looks a lot like you, and it sounds a lot like you. This glib indifference, this glib arrogance, this glib mocking in the face of absolute horror, you know, imposed on others, playing with their welfare. Why shouldn't I find that disgusting? So anyway, enough said. So, till the next time, there is need for a reaction and such. Whoa, making a video. Yay. Really is quite lovely day. But then snow tonight. Damn it. It worries me. Don't like snow. Anyway, that's not the subject of the video. What is the subject? Well, I guess the next round, really. There's got to be some kind of new thing to talk about. Something beyond this this primitive philosophy of not recognizing the nature of our existence. Just diagramming it. I keep arguing it. I've been arguing it, I guess, the whole time I've been on YouTube about how it's, this is the reality of our existence. It's these life forms all over the place. This, all very parasitic. I mean, it's this lichen over here. It's very interesting little stuff. All this. They're kind of machines. These biological infestation machines, and this aggressive chemistry, you could almost maybe call it. It's chemistry designed, to take over, to win, to I don't know how to. Well, I didn't really think about it. That's why I don't know how to describe it. Yes, because I didn't try to find a description. But there's probably some really great way to describe, the funguses, the moss, the lichen. It's not overdoing, because it's had a long history of fighting on Earth, and it's kind of found out through that process, that sometimes you don't want to be the winner, because then you're the target. Then your food, makes it's very dangerous to be food. I said that before. A reliable food source, because then you'll be dependably, foraged on. So anyway, so it's just such a huge context to our existence, is this biology game. But then even looking at this ice, makes me sort of think of glaciers and the chemical history of Earth too. And they do have this this chemistry thing shit happening also in the universe. And this is the context of our existence. This is, we're byproduct of these processes, and so through recognizing that fact, you can escape being fooled by the ego mechanism that's in your programming, by the game psychology plays with your capacity to separate your brain, your intelligent brain, from your psychology, and get a clearer view of yourself, without the mask of the mission of the subjective, ego-driven, machine-driven, regimented, programmed machine. You can have a higher kind of programming, a higher form of function. You can tap into a different kind of determinism. It is all kind of 2 + 2. You can't really escape the mathematics, the physics of your existence. I guess that's another really important context, is that it's all physics. It's all just a swirl of photons, and you can't escape its inevitability. The ironic fact that this video is a predetermined event, and its influence on other people is a predetermined event. It's at least inescapably deterministic. I mean, predetermined sounds a little hokey. But I suppose it's just as accurate, really. So it's that's the bigger context of what we're doing here. Gee, it really was much warmer a half an hour ago. See, it really would have fooled me. The weather was just really so pleasant, that you'd say. Look at that, not a whole field of ice over there. The stream washed over. It is spooky when you look at the weight of this ice. And I can just imagine this. When the stream was flooded, these giant sheets of ice crashing down. You just, ooh, the damage that stuff could do if set loose. Like I went over the bank and headed for that house over there or something. It's pretty certain it would, not turn it into a good asset very quickly. So anyway, the stream crossing hasn't improved any. Gee, nobody else fixed it. Son of a bitches. What, they're afraid to get their feet wet and fix it properly? Alright. So I have to jump there, then there, then there, and then off. So if you hear more than 4 footsteps, you know I failed. Zone. Yeah, fuck. Oh, this sucks. Alright, that was 5. So I did fail a little. Anyway, it makes my boots a nicer color. I really have to oil them. I have to do all this water hopping. So yeah, the context. You know, just understanding where the sun is. And figuring out that maybe the camera shouldn't be looking at it. All the stuff that you have to do, that you have to understand, you know, to really, you know, to get the real picture of what your existence is. You know, what's really going on here. You know, it's not hard work. You know, it's not like tedious mathematics. But you do kind of, there's forces inside of you, let's put it that way. There's pre-existing, animalistic, culturally supported, conditioned mechanisms, programs that really do push you away from the truth, push you into rationalizations and fantasies and fables, you know, projected nonsense, to escape the, you know, rather brutal truth, you know, that you're a fancy flatworm and not much else. There's the only really good mission here is to clean up the bad. You know, janitor is the highest order of, you know, good service, good job, best job you could have, most eloquent, most beautiful. You know, so it is kind of the truth is almost a reciprocal, an upside down version of the lies we're taught. You know, the bullshit that's bashed into us. But again, it doesn't take much to see it. But it's always seeing pieces of it too. You know, you get this and you get that, and then 10 years later you get the third piece, and you say, "Oh shit, how did I not, you know, get that part of it too?" So, you know, they just don't. There hasn't been anybody spelling it out. Even Darwin, you know, kind of a clinical description of evolution. You know, kind of brutal, but really not brutal enough to capture the truth. Not insulting enough to the nature of the human animal. Not enough of a recognition of its crude origins. Yeah, so I could say in my lifetime I can't really think of too many people that have, or any, you know, that have told this story of life on Earth really accurately. They'll give you a piece here and a piece there, but then they'll start smearing the honey and the frosting and the sparkles and the gummy bears, you know, on that piece of the truth. And it's just really not a good diagram, you know, of the whole hard, you know, story. You know, determinism, flatworm. I should come up with, I guess, a list of keywords. I guess I sort of already have, you know, consumption, reproduction, cannibalism addiction, but maybe some other words might help. But yeah, that's not, there's no place where that's put together. There's no social media that throws that at people put together. There was no documentary I could watch in my youth that would say it all, put it all on the table at once. I think in a way it kind of needs to be. You need to have all the little grains of hope and optimism and wishful thinking and ego bullshit smashed out of you. So if you leave a little bit, it's like the blob. If you leave a little bit behind, it'll just consume the facts. It'll just eat them up. Any bit of ego and want, desperate want, and fear, and all those things, they will just, left alone in the room, they will steal the truth. They will rape it and steal it. You just can't leave our psychology alone with a fact, because it will molest it. It will force it to conform to its desire. It will rationalize all over it. Right in its face, it will rationalize. This is a theme I have talked about a lot, this distinction between psychology and philosophy. And I'm certainly not arguing that you can void yourself of psychology. It's just a statement declaring that if you're going to do philosophy, though, you're going to have to admit that you have a cheater's psychology, and that has to be constantly scrutinized, and you have to be willing to have it challenged as to when you are projecting your psychology onto the facts. And clearly the molesting psychologies out there don't want that kind of scrutiny, because they know they're molesters. Not complicated. So, as I stated, it isn't really complicated, but putting it all together is a bit of a challenge. It does require circumstantial good fortune. That is a bit of an iceberg there. Ooh, slippery. I did fall down the other day. Really can't afford to keep doing that kind of shit. Old bones and such. So, but apparently I still fall athletically. So I fell correctly and didn't hurt anything. But, I have to accept my reality as old man. Old man in Inmendham. I don't have to accept it. It's not that much at stake, really. Yeah, so it's just my own failure in life. Yeah, who cares about that? So I guess I don't have to accept it. Cool. Yeah. There is no vulnerable sentience will be destroyed in the manifesting of my delusions. Personal So that's another context. Is there's plenty of places for you to, play with your Legos and your Tinker Toys and your Transformers or whatever. Lots of places to do that where it's not going to matter. And you're just not supposed to do it when you're driving a car, that's all. There's places you can play with yourself, and it's okay. Places where you really can't. Ooh, there's some ice there too. Yeah, really surprising. It was kind of a pleasant temperatures. Kind of surprised how much ice is still out here. So anyway, until next time, and such. So forth and whatnot. Whoa, I'm back. Yeah, I wasn't going to be back, but I decided to be back. Because the sun's in the opposite position. It is fading. It's getting cold. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what that has to do with being back, but oh, yeah, that's right. It's better video. Yeah, it's better video conditions. So yeah, I should have made the video in these conditions. But my hand's cold. So that would have been no good. Anyway, must have something better than that to say. Yeah. So context, recognition, acceptance, what other bogus words I can use here? Yeah, I mean, without sounding meta. I hate that meta word. Metaphysical, metaphysics, meta philosophy, meta ethics, meta bullshit. Yeah, so the simple truth, biological organisms, extravagant and nonsensical and silly, dubious psychological programming, just struggling through, trying to find a path that won't quicksand on them, that won't turn into something horrible, trying to just get from here to tomorrow without, for me personally, it's, it's just kind of like, without horror. I don't have my expectations, my demands are pretty meager in terms of just getting through the days. The path isn't as clear from this side. I don't want to get my feet wet. See, the real trap is this guy. See, that looks like that'll take you to paradise. But that's just dunes. The water's deep over there. So you gotta go this way through the part that looks active. But the reason why it looks active is because it's shallow. So, what you think is the right way in life sometimes ain't the right way in life. How you doing? Stuck. Look at that ice. That's a pile of it. Yes, it is. Pile of ice. Ice pile. Where was I? Yeah, I did actually pretty well. My one boot isn't even wet, even though I stepped in the water. I must have walked on it. I'm a Jeebus. Hey, I performed a miracle. Cool. Yeah. Who saw that coming? Yeah. No. I better get busy forming the new, whatever it is, the new Yeah. Buddhism too. Yeah. Buddhism too. The real devil horror. Now you're really fucked. The subtitle, right? What would be the Buddhism too? It's not only futile, but it's stupid. I like that. Oh. I just totally ran out of gas. Man, sorry, so I guess I better quit videoing. I'm out of gas. Without gas, I won't be able to maintain the quality of the video. You get all grainy, you get lines in it, and it'll all be flipping out and fading. Yeah. So, I guess that's enough for today. Maybe when I get back there'll be some other news and I'll add something, but I don't feel terribly inspired. Yeah. Oh man, look at that. I'm out of gas. Anyway, till next time. Ow, my finger's frozen too. Till next time.